Hi, Peakto 2.4 has just been released and it is massive. It is packed with features, improvements, performance enhancements across the app. We couldn't be happier to put it in your hands today, and we'd like to walk you through the main changes. There are too many changes to look at all of them, so we've selected a few of them which are really worthwhile. Let's get started. The first major change is a change in the navigation. In previous versions of Peakto, when you had long lists of sources, they would appear as a flat list in the sidebar. So for example, if you're one of these people having lots of Capture One sessions or lots of catalogs, they would all appear in a flat list, which makes it kind of difficult to navigate. So we've added now the ability to view your sources, your catalogs, your Capture One sessions, whatever, in their context, in the context of the folders in which they have been put. So it's kind of natural to navigate from the source volumes part of the sidebar, where now you can see your volumes and the folders in those volumes that contain sources with respect to the hierarchy. So for example, here I'm looking at this drive which contains a number of folders, and those folders which contain sources are displayed here, and I can drill down and find the organization that I have. So here I have a number of Capture One sessions or catalogs in that specific folder. I also have some that are in different areas, and I might have some Capture One catalogs that are also available in here. So you can see how your content is being organized, and you can of course make selections based on the folders. So for example, if I click on here, I'm going to see everything that is inside that specific folder. In that case, 2 Aperture libraries. Here I'm looking at 2 Capture One catalogs in that folder. And if I click here, I'm going to look at all the Capture One sessions that I have in this specific folder. Very easy to navigate and really fast. Last but not least, we've added the ability from that new navigation view to scan and attach all catalogs that are living under a specific folder. So for example, if I continue to create new sessions under that hierarchy or in subfolders of that hierarchy, rather than going in the Finder and add them one by one, I can select that new command, and Peakto will scan everything it can find in that hierarchy that is not yet referenced, and will add it to its catalog. So that's a great time saver. The next feature has to do with videos, and we've improved significantly the way we handle videos by adding a new panel here on the side that gives you access to new information about your videos. So for example, we've added the slate information from the video files, from, in that case, an MXF file, and we've also added the information about the in and out time codes, some information about the environment, the frame numbers, and the codec, etc. We've also added in that specific video panel an area where you can create subclips and markers. So subclips are portions of your clips, and you can create them from the player or from the contact sheet. So let's take this video clip, for example. I can, from the player, set in and out points, either using the menu here, set in point, or using the I shortcut, which I'm going to use now. So I'm going to set an in point here and an out point here, and then I'm using the command to create the subclip. So now a subclip has been added here. I can give it a title. And I can do the same if I want to create a marker. So for example, I have a specific shot I'm interested in. I can go in here and create marker using the U command. I can also use the contact sheet on the side here to create endpoints, odd points, and then create a subclip. Once I have my subclips and my markers, I can assemble them in a video bin, which is a new concept. It looks like an album, like a collection, but it has some additional features. So let's open one here. You can create them from the sidebar using this button, give them a name, and they start empty, and then you can drag and drop content in them. Like for example, I can take this subclip here and I can drag and drop it in a specific location. The way we render those items, whether they are images, markers, subclips, or full videos, is using the in image and the out image, here in the case of the subclip. And we also render, using the yellow rectangle, the portion of the clip that is being used. In the case of a marker, we display a green line on the frame that was used for the marker. And we always display the full video in the background. So you can scrub over the video and see where the marker is positioned. You can scrub and view what portion of the video is used as a subclip. You can reorder those items, as I've shown before. If I want to move that in a different location, I can reorder them, and you can, of course, delete them. When you click on an item, it's going to select it in the inspector, and I can view, for example, here I'm selecting a marker, so the corresponding marker is selected here. If I'm selecting a subclip, the subclip that I've selected appears here. Once you have assembled your project, your bin, you can export it. So you can export it in a variety of formats based on XML. So you would have the Final Cut Pro X format or the Final Cut Pro 7 that gives you compatibility with Adobe Premiere and DaVinci Resolve, whereas the Final Cut Pro X is used by Final Cut Pro and DaVinci Resolve. So you can decide which one you want to use. And it's going to save the XML on Drive, and then you can import it into the tool of your choice that supports that format. We also have a send command that lets you send the bin directly to a program like Final Cut Pro or Premiere or DaVinci. So if I, for example, send that bin to Final Cut Pro, I can set a number of options. I can give a name to my timeline. Decide if I want to create a bin into Final Cut Pro with those things. I want to create a timeline. So I'm going to create a timeline. Final Cut Pro will ask me in which project I want to insert my export, and it's created here, the demo timeline, with all the sequences that I had in my video bin. Notice that if there are markers inside a subclip, we also reflect them into the timeline. Peakto 2.4 adds support for Blackmagic RAW files. So if you have any Blackmagic RAW videos, they will be handled natively by Peakto. So if you import a folder with those videos, Peakto will correctly get all the metadata out of those files. So for example, here you can see all the slate info, the in and out time code, everything that has to do with the environment and the metadata that was set at the camera level. We'll create the scrubber, we'll create the contact sheet for those files. We don't yet support the player, but you can see the contact sheet here, and you can use that contact sheet, as we've seen before, to create in and out points, create markers, create subclips, etc. for those files. We also have a preliminary support for LUTs. So you can go into the view menu, apply camera LUT, and you'll find here all the LUTs that you have installed. For example, if you have DaVinci Resolve or another tool, it's going to pick up those LUTs, and you can select one of them. The list of LUTs that you've recently used is also available here. So if I select one of those, for example, then you can see that whenever you scrub on the on any of those files, it's going to apply the LUT to the preview. It's not something that is persistent. It's going to be lost after you restart. It's not being assigned to your file. It's just applying the same LUTs for all the files in the preview. You can reset to none if you want to suppress that behavior. This version also has completely upgraded support for sharing. So we changed many aspects of sharing, and I'm going to show you what is new. First of all, we've changed the way local sharing happens. In previous version, you had to, when you shared on a local network, you would still connect to an address in the cloud in order to have access to your content. Now it's different. When you start a server, a local server, you actually, and open in a web browser, we are actually going to connect directly to the IP address of your server. So there is a direct connection. It's not happening through the cloud, and those files, those pages, HTML pages, are served locally. It doesn't happen via the cloud anymore. Of course, the content is always stored on your computer. There's nothing in the cloud, but even the web pages now are served from your local computer. We've revamped the experience in the web, so you can now make selections in a more easier way. You can select multiple files. If you want, for example, to add to an album, you can use the command key. If you want to create different types of selection, use the shift key. All the things you're used to do in the macOS version, you can now do in terms of selection on the web as well. We've added an inspector, so you can also use the inspector to annotate your images. You can set a title, a caption, color, ratings, etc. to your files, and they're going to be applied on the macOS version, so in the database immediately. We've also changed the way you can make selections. In previous version, you could only select one item. Now you can also select the parent, and it's going to show you everything that is underneath that hierarchy node. There are also more options when it comes to configuring how the thumbnails look like. You can now choose to fill instead of fit, and still have the same options to control what is displayed below the image. So if I want to put the file name at the top, for example, I can select that and put it at the top. So that's the web experience that's been expanded in this version. But we didn't stop here. We've added a new functionality that's available only in the Pro license of Peakto, which is also new. We've added a standard and a Pro version. And in the Pro version, you can decide to share with named people, and you can share specific areas of your catalog. It can be a source, it can be an album, or you decide. And for example, if I'm selecting this specific source, I'm going to move my filter here on videos. I can now share with the team. So when I share with the team, I'm going to assign, list the people that can access my content, invite them, and set the privileges that they can have on this content. So for example, I can decide that this person can download but cannot annotate, for example. And I validate. Notice that currently this share is unnamed. I'm going to share it for my birds project, for example. And currently I have one person in that project and I have one source. I can add more sources to my project. For example, I could add albums or other types of catalog to that same project, and the person that is named here will automatically gain access to those items that I share. Right. I can control the list of my shares. So here, for example, the birds project I've just created, you can see that there's one person that is attached to that project, and I can continue to edit. I can also see how many sources are part of that project, just one. If I think that flamingos would be also relevant for that project, I can add source to the share birds project, and it's going to automatically add flamingos to the shared area called birds project. So if I go to birds project, I can see that there are two sources in that project. If I edit, I can see flamingo and birds are now part of that area that is shared. So this person will gain access to those two areas and will be able to do the actions that he's been given the rights to do. In that case, download. You can always deactivate a share to suppress access, and the user that will receive the invitation will essentially see the same thing as this interface, except that it's going to, on the left-hand side, he will only see birds and flamingos. So you will be able to interact only with images in those two repositories, so to speak. The number of people that you can add drives the type of license that you have to purchase in order to be able to share with the team. And so the pricing of Peakto Pro is based on the number of seats. One of the features that was asked by many users was the ability to better control what happens when you have a filter that contains multiple people or multiple keywords. So for example, suppose I select those two people. In previous versions of Peakto, they would be combined using an OR. It would mean that we would see all the pictures that contain either one of them or both of them. But you couldn't control that. Now you can specify if you want those two people to be in the picture together using an AND rule. So this is what's happening here. We have two images with those two people that are simultaneously showing in the picture. I can always go back to OR, which was the previous behavior, and I will see all the images that contain either one of them, or use the new AND capability. And of course, you can now also see by simply clicking which are the two values that are combined in that filter. And I can clear them all or clear only one of them. So that's new. We've also added a new feature which can be very handy, which is a copy feature. So you can now copy really easily a file name, a master path, a parent folder path, or the full metadata of an image. You can also copy the thumbnail. You can copy the thumbnail with the metadata, and you can copy the high resolution thumbnail if it is available. So this is really handy if you compose a mail and you need to paste an image, in that case, high resolution image, or paste the metadata with a thumbnail. And it works for videos as well. I can copy the storyboard and here paste the storyboard of that content in my mail. So these are just a selection of the main new features of Peakto 2.4. We are excited to let you access Peakto 2.4 today, and we are looking forward to your feedback. Bye-bye.